Everybody needs a coach in life. Coaching businesses and entrepreneurs like you to spike an additional 40% to your bottom line. Michael Burt is a multi-championship coach, best-selling author, trainer, motivator, and all-around super coach. Now, from the Greatness Factory Studios, this is Super Coach.
Hey guys, I'm Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach, every week coming into your life because I show up every day. Jack, I even show up when I don't feel like it. I show up when it's raining. I show up when it's snowing. I show up when my hair didn't work right this morning. You know, I show up every day because I believe number one, everybody needs a good coach in their life. I believe a good coach can change your whole life, and I believe every single week on Super Coach that we're here to provide value for you. We've been in a lot of coaching sessions today. Monster Hendersonville was this morning. Came back this afternoon and coached Carrie Ann Sears' mortgage team via webinar. Came back and did Monster Teams here at the Greatness Factory, and now I'm coaching you. And this month, I've been talking about this one thing. There's really two things we've been talking about. My book, Inside the Mind of a Monster. My wife's book. No, that's my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster. My wife's book, Living with a Monster, because here's what I see out there, Pete O'Neill and Ginger Stegg and Dave Stegg. Here's what I see, man. We got to toughen up in the sales cycle. And when I say toughen up in the sales cycle, what I really mean is how do we go the distance every single day? When we get knocked down, when we get told no, when we hear a little bit of rejection, how do we go the distance every single day, Megan Minky? Because this is a big problem for a lot of people. Most sales, I think 80% of sales happen either the fifth touch, the fifth contact. I say 7 to 15 touches 80% of the time. 67% of people use the very first person that calls them. Most people do not go 7 to 15 touches. After the sale, should be worth 5 or 6 referrals. 98% of people never call a customer back once they go through the transaction. So what we're trying to do in today's Super Coach is really say, man, we got to toughen up in this sales cycle. As Rod Key says, we got to get our mind ready for what our body's about to do every day. We don't have enough outbound call periods. We don't have enough follow-up, and we don't have enough service after the sale. What happens is we just run out of steam. So when you're thinking about being a big-time monster producer and going inside the mind of a big-time monster that are producing at the highest levels, the one thing I see that they all have is, man, they're just tough people. They just have a mental and emotional toughness. When other people break, they don't. Okay, so what is the mindset of a monster producer as it relates to toughening up during the sales cycle? Here's what they expect. They wake up and they expect it to be hard, Jonathan Davis. They don't expect it to be easy. Stacey Hurd, they wake up and they say it's going to take a long time. It's going to cost a bunch of money. We're going to have a bunch of knockdowns and breakdowns. We're going to have a bunch of people quit on us. We're going to have a bunch of people disappoint us. There are going to be a few casualties along the way. The big-time monsters say this, and I got to go through a ridiculous amount of volume, Aaron and Josh Black and Ricky. I got to go through a ridiculous amount of volume because my numbers tell me for every 30 people I talk to, only 4.8 of those people are going to be interested. They're going to be early adopters or they're going to be innovators. Now, what does that tell me? If you're only talking to 20 people, what's 16% of 20? That's the problem, right? 16% of 20 people, James Harper, ain't enough people. You do it and you do it and you do it some more, whether you feel like it or not, Lily Munoz. You got to do it, and you got to do it, and you got to do it some more, whether you feel like it or not. This is the toughness. I remember speaking down in Fort Lauderdale because I'm out on tour speaking to some major real estate companies, and I roll into Fort Lauderdale. It's a little bit cloudy, and it's raining kind of like it is today. And I remember the broker coming to me, Daniel Hodges, and she said, "I'm just embarrassed, Coach. When it rains, a lot of our agents don't show up to work." And I'm like, when it rains, like they don't work when it rains, like Tim Huckabee, like how tough is that, man? I mean, that is not tough at all. It's weak-minded. Here's what I would say: it's simple, but it ain't easy. Okay, it's simple, but it ain't easy. So I want you to go back to when I was a high school basketball coach. I played the percentages, and here's what the percentages told me, Jack. I got to have under 14 turnovers. I got to give up less than 7 second shots. I got to stop the other team 21 times in a game. In 3 consecutive stops, I got to stop them 7 times. in 3 consecutive stops. You know why? Because it kills momentum. Kills momentum when you stop a team 3 consecutive stops. I didn't care if they scored every 4th possession. I just didn't want them scoring back to back to back because it builds momentum. So then when I start coaching salespeople and I start my own business, I'm like, man, what are the percentages that I need to operate under to win? How do I toughen up in this sales cycle? So I started looking at all the stats, okay? And the stats tell me 67% of people use the very first one. They don't use the best one. It takes 7 to 15 touches in the follow-up when a person indicates interest. You know, every transaction should be worth 5.7 referrals, although 98% of people never call a customer back. These are percentages that I've kind of built my whole coaching program on. So if you're thinking like, how does a big-time monster producer think inside the mind of a monster? They never blame external forces for them not hitting their sales goals. They go to bed tired, they wake up hungry. They go to bed broke, they start over at 0. They blame themselves for not having enough volume. They never rely on one deal, they rely on 10 deals. They would never rely on one person, they rely on 10 people. That, you know, if they make an outbound phone call and the other person doesn't answer or doesn't call back, they take responsibility for that. So what I say is, Dale Childress, it's not your fault that you didn't call me back, it's my fault. Because if I'd done a better job being more interesting and showing you value, you'd have been calling me back fast. David Ross, where you been? I've been looking for you in class today, big guy. Come on down. Come on down. We come back from the break, I'm going to show you. We're talking how to toughen up in the sales cycle. I'm going to give you some specific things in the second segment of how I think you can toughen up and toughen your team up if you're serious about performing at a very high level. Hey, that's only if you're serious, right? I'm Coach Michael Burt. Be back in the next segment. You know, I spent really a decade of my life coaching high school kids, and one of the things that made us so successful was we coached the whole person, the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. And what I found out is most school systems are not equipped to help people perform at a much higher level. Last year I sat down and I developed the Greatness Factory for Kids online learning platform. And that is 25 lessons that you and your daughter or son can sit down at night, go through every single night and have some discussion about key important emotional intelligence things they're going to need to be successful. I'm Coach Michael Burt. Go to greatnessfactoryforkids.com and get an online academy for you and your family. Hey guys, welcome back to Super Coach. Proud of my buddy, Dr. Steve Hotze, that came into town this past Sunday night, did an incredible event at my personal house. We call that double your energy, double your income. A lot of my energy comes from the regimen and the hormones and the vitamin packs and everything that Hotze Health and Wellness have me on, which is a customized plan for my body. You know, a lot of people ask me, where do you get your energy from? Where do you get your drive from? How do you attack a day? How do you keep going? How do you travel different time zones? All of these things are real important. And Sunday night, Dr. Hotze came in, spent a lot of time with some of my men in Monster Producer, and I guarantee you there's going to be 5 or 10 men that go, I want to get my health to a much higher level. Because here's the deal, if you want to do big things, you got to have a bunch of energy. And what we're talking about today, toughness, has directly tied to a lot of the things that are going on with your body. So if you're tired in the afternoons, if you don't have enough energy to pursue your goals, how tough can you be? You want to quit, man. You want to crawl into bed, do nothing. Listen to it rain. Watch a couple episodes of, I don't know what people watch. What do they watch? General Hospital? That's what I watched when I was a kid. Probably Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, here's my point when you're thinking about this concept. Pete O'Neill said, what's the best way to deal with a lukewarm lead? Someone who won't say yes or no. Pete, I think you got to bring them to a buying decision by saying this. Pete, it seems like you want to do this, okay, but you're stuck on one thing. Now, I can't help you, Peter O'Neill, until you commit. And once you commit, I'm not going to let you fail. But we've been going around and around this thing, and I need to know, are you in or are you out? That's how I handle a lukewarm prospect. Blake Duncan said, add value and educate them. There's two reasons people don't take action in the sales cycle. One, fear and uncertainty. Fear is an unpleasant emotion created by a belief that somebody's going to harm me in the future. That breeds uncertainty, which is vacillation, doubt, insecurity, ambivalence. So what do? I gotta buckle down and keep feeding people more information. Now, this is where most salespeople fall off the wagon. Thought you said no. No, you didn't say no. You just didn't answer the phone. You didn't answer my text message. So I'm going to quit. What if people quit on their dreams like that? Hey, I tried one time and it didn't work, so I quit. Hey, I tried to write one book, but we didn't sell it, so I didn't write another book. Okay, what I'm saying to you, Adam Wright and Luke Willoughby, is how do you get so tough in the sales cycle? You know that every no you hear is one step closer to a yes. You get that 16% of people are going to take action. And when somebody gives you hard feedback about your sales cycle, about your sales process, about your product, be a man or woman and take it. Don't get defensive. If somebody says, here's what I need from you. If you could put this together, we're going to put a deal together. So toughening up in a sales cycle has to do with this total mindset that it's going to be a dogfight, man. It's going to be a dogfight every day when we get in there. We're competing for time. We're competing for attention. Last week in New York City, we rented cars. I'm not saying it was a mistake, but it was a mistake. And we tried to drive in New York City through Times Square. You know how tough you got to be in New York City to get in line? People running out there, police cars, people shooting each other. It's all crazy, man. And you got to be tough when you do it. But there's an analogy there. Most salespeople that do not hit their sales goals have a weak-minded mentality. They go 2 touches versus 7. They go 3. They blame external factors. Well, the market's slowing down. Well, I'm getting a little scared because things ain't operating like they used to. There's a compression. They use all fancy words. Like there's a market compression right now. Let me tell you something. There may be a market compression. People are spending more money than they've ever spent. If you can't sell them something, that ain't their fault for not buying it. It's your fault for doing a poor job selling it. Now, I want you thinking about this concept. What's up, Joe Rocket? Now, if I had a name like Joe Rocket, man, I'd be tough. I'd be tough. So when you think about this, this is what I'm trying to get across to my monster producers this month, is that we as a collective society have to get tougher during this cycle because there's so much global competition. There's commoditization forces. There's people creative destruction where people are doing it cheaper than you're doing it. So you got to make up your mind. I'm going to hold my value. I'm going to bring it every day. I'm going to be so good they can't ignore me. Like I did a Facebook post this morning about instead of complaining that you're not selling, why don't you increase the number of calls you make? Instead of complaining that you're not getting enough attention, why don't you be so valuable that they can't ignore you? Instead of talking about how you couldn't get them on the phone, why don't you try some new methods? Why don't you tag them in a different way? Instead of talking about market compression, why don't you increase your volume? Why don't you push harder versus contract and retreat, or where they don't buy on the weekends, or they don't buy when it rains, or it's cyclical? These are all excuses that salespeople make when they don't hit their goals, man. It's just that simple. Either you did or you didn't. What's the concept? You didn't try. You either did or you didn't. You either got them on the phone or you didn't get them on the phone. You either went to 7 touches or you didn't. You either explain your services in a world-class way or you didn't. So what we're trying to do this month in our Monster Producer course is enlighten our monsters, number one, to how big-time monster producers think. And there's a cycle of this, and I'll close with this today. Big-time monster producers go through this cycle. Number one, they spend a decade building a hard skill. They build a hard skill. Hard skills used to solve a problem for another person. Okay, for me, it was coaching through the whole person theory. It was taking people from a lower level resource to a higher level of productivity. That was my number one hard skill that I spent a decade perfecting, how to inner engineer people how to win. Then I developed secondary skills, how to sell with conviction, emotional toughness, how to connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime. These are secondary skills. So if you build a very hard skill, this is a skill that people need. Soft skill is personality. Soft skill that's soft skills. Like you're a nice person, you connect to people. Those are soft. I'm talking about a hard skill. Like you can solve a problem. You can sell something, you can fix something, you bring a new strategy to the equation. You're a must-have versus a nice-to-have, right? That's a hard skill. Well, once you build this hard skill, lots of people start coming to you. The stronger the skill, the better communicated the skill to the market, the more you start to build community, which means you don't have one person coming to you. You got 100 people coming to you. You got 1,000 people coming to you. Maybe you got 1 million people coming to you. Once you build this network of like-minded people, it is then time to let those people exchange with each other. And the example I used, if you look over my shoulders, there's different windows in the Greatness Factory. I want you to pretend those are doors. And I want you to pretend that you want to give your clients a number of doors they can walk in. The number of doors could be the number of products you have. It could be the number of events you have. It could be all kinds of things, but there are reasons for people to come to you. So Saturday night we did a couples event. We attracted some leads. Sunday night we did a men's event. Tonight we're doing a young professional event. So every week I'm trying to come up with something. Like we're doing a cruise in January, the Monster Cruise. We're doing a couples retreat in February. We're doing me and Tim Story in April. We're doing me and Tim Grover at some point. We're creating something in the future to give doors to walk in. We want this community that we've built, these 600 or 700 people, exchanging ideas with each other, exchanging business with each other, exchanging money with each other. And the only way to do that is to bring those people together. So let me close with this, guys. Big Time Monster develops a hard skill. They get tough in the sales cycle. And selling in today's world needs to be one of your number one skills that you build, is learning how to create enough value to exchange that value with other people at a very high level. Money changes hands when problems are solved. You use your hard skill to solve their problems, you be compensated for it. If you never figure this out, you don't get compensated much. You don't get compensated at a low frequency. So skill one, hard skill, tough in the sales cycle, follow up, service after the sale, know how much volume you got to go through. Level 2, develop community, build a tribe of like-minded people. We've done that in Monster Producer because they're a bunch of freaks, okay, that want to perform at a high level. Step 3, let them all exchange with each other, which drives up your value to them. Take all of your past clients, let them spend time with each other. Take all your business relationships, let them spend time with each other. Build this network, okay? Hey, Aaron, call Lily Munoz. Guys, every week I come into your life on Super Coach. You can download this on iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Republic. Get you a dose. Go to my YouTube channel and get you a dose every single week. And if you're not following me on my YouTube channel, I put out stuff every day. Today I put out a video called Instead Of, and I'm doing an event tonight for young professionals. I'm doing Monster Producer in November. I'm doing Knoxville, Chattanooga this Friday. So if you want to come experience it, get in, man. Okay? We lose 10% of momentum every day we don't take action. I'm Coach Michael Burt. Thanks for watching Super Coach. Hey guys, I'm Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach. Over the last 10 years, I've been coaching some of the top performers in the world. First as a women's basketball coach that won championships, and then I began writing books coaching business people all over the world, especially in key areas: insurance, mortgage, real estate, financial services. These are highly saturated and commoditized industries. My message is about how do you look different and run faster? How do you follow up like a champion, 7 to 15 touches? How do you go inside the mind of a monster producer? So if you've been looking for a good coach in your life, you need to go ahead and get your tickets now to the 8% Nation Tour. I can't wait to be there with some of the best talent in the world coaching you and how to get significant increase in your business and become a monster producer.